Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all.
Good morning. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. Oh, what a wonderful day in the neighborhood it is. Why? Because here we are. Here we are together, fulfilling one of the greatest promises within the universe. The one that promises us that when we come together in the same spirit of mind, body, and soul, something wonderful is going to happen. And today is no exception. So welcome. Now's a great time to share the broadcast out, get some friends and family inside so we can have an illuminated conversation. Our theme this year is Show Me Your Soul, and the promise to you is we'll show you ours. And our guests today have come aboard to do just that. But before we get into that, I want to say, how was your Tuesday? It's a lot of rain here in the Chicagoland area, and we're so grateful for it. I had an arborist out this week taking a look at our property because the drought, our trees, so now I have to water the trees for a half hour every other day. I have to move hoses all around the property. But I love our trees. I love everything that has a life force. If it has a life force, it has the ability to love us just as we have the ability to love it. So what is that? That's the bell of purpose. When you hear it ring, it's not some gimmick. It's not just a show prop. It is there to remind us that the truth has, in fact, a ring to it. So when you hear that, I want you to lean in, sit up, open your spirit and your mind, pour into each other, and let's get it done, shall we? So that's what that's all about. At this point of the show, as always, help me welcome my sidekick. This is my version of Ed McMahon. She's here every day, has been for 6 straight years. This is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Ding. And today we are drinking pumpkin spice. you know, it's almost Halloween and that sort of thing. The fall, I love it all. And so she's here. Before we get our guests in here, real quick, you guys, I have, what is the date? The 21st. Oh, I only have like 2.5, not even that, a week and a half left as the cover of Shift Magazine. Then there's going to be a new one, but it has been a great run the last 60 days or so. What a wonderful thing. Thank you so much to Shift Magazine for allowing me to share my story with the world. And also, you can get over to, I'll put this on the screen. As a matter of fact, let me do that right now. Get over if you want to pick up your copy of Heart of Hollywood magazine. Here it is. And Bathrobe Moments is on the very back of this magazine, and it's going to be every issue for the next 2 years. So thank you to the team at Heart of Hollywood magazine and the wonderful Giovanna Salas, publisher and CEO of Heart of Hollywood Motion Pictures and Heart of Hollywood magazine. So one last thing of business, because I don't want to waste time today. We got a lot to talk about. So let me get this product placement out of the way. So then when we go to break, we only have a 1-minute commercial and we can keep going. So if you're looking for a way to start down a road of better choices as far as your health and wellness, I chose this long time ago, not even knowing that V8 was going to end up being a sponsor of my show. But I'll tell you why I love it. Easy peasy. We get 2 full servings of vegetables in 1 can, 100% vegetable juice, and it is only, get ready, 60 calories. That's right. Easy to find. Head down the nearest juice aisle at your grocer, and you will find this. All you have to do is pop the top, take 1 sip. Don't end up saying, oops, I could have had a V8. Say, ooh, I just had a V8. V8, get yours today. Here they come. Let's talk about, I'm bringing in Chris Kent, who I recently met. You guys know, oh yeah, October 3rd. Yes, October 3rd. It's a Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Pacific. Our show, Ainara and myself, Galaxis Girl and Laura Michaels Harris, Cosmo Sapiens will debut, premiere, if you will, on iRock Space Radio, which you can find on iHeart Radio. Ask your Alexa or Google to play iRock Space Radio, and you will find us. We'll give you more information as we draw closer to the premiere. So excited. And actually, our 2 guests today came to me through Ainara. And wait till you hear what they're doing. They have put and poured so much into this plan to change lives around the world, young lives. And you know how I feel about kids, Power of We Symposium. So I'm always anxious to bring people aboard that have the same mindset. So sit back and get ready. We want to know what you think. So don't be shy. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions. So place them in the chat and we'll get them to our guest in no time. So first timers, you guys know what I always say, you know, let's give them the true Bathrobe Moments first time welcome, which means pour your heart into it, but also put some hearts on the screen, because here they come. Our guests for today, Chris Kent and Kobina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kobina, you are muted, my friend.
There you
go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, though. A good thing we can read lips, because I heard you say good morning. I saw you say. How are you? Let's start by just saying hello to everyone, because I just told them, as you heard, you're here for the very first time. You're not in the same area of the world. So why don't we start with Kobina? Kobina, I'm just curious, because I don't think I've seen your last name anywhere. Are you like Prince or Madonna, a one-name person? Or is there, in fact, your last name?
No, quite the opposite. I have many names. My father was Ghanaian, my mother Sierra Leonean and Ghanaian, and they believed in long names. So I have about 6 names, but my surname is Hughes, H-U-G.
That's right. Oh, let me get a screenshot.
I live here in the UK at the moment.
In the UK. Okay. So can we hear all 6 of the names? Just roll them out.
Right. Okay. Well, first name Kobina, Peter, Horatio, Brown, Collingwood, Hughes. Yes. It's something like that. There's an EBO in there as well.
Oh, so that's 7. You left 1 out. Good Lord have mercy. Boy. Okay. So your birth your birth certificate has to be rolled out like a scroll just to accommodate all those names. Unless they went this
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
And you're in London town.
I'm in London. Yeah, I've spent my life. I was born in the UK. Then I went back to Ghana as a young boy. Kind of relevant to what we're talking about today because my passions whilst I was a teenager were science fiction and space and physics and mathematics. Came back to the UK, did my first degree, which was in engineering, stayed here for a bit. Then after a while, I decided to go back to Ghana. I lived and worked there for the last 10 years or so. Then I came back to the UK.
So you said first degree. How many do you have?
So all of my life, I call both home.
How many degrees do you have, Kobina?
I've got 3 actually. My first degree was in systems engineering. Then I did law. Then I did a master's in construction law and arbitration.
The masters. So overachieve much?
I beg your pardon. Could you say that again?
Do you overachieve much? My goodness, you are just a man of many talents. So I was just teasing you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Get used to it. We're going to have a good time. You're going to be a lot of laughs. But we got some serious things to talk about, but only after we get Chris Kent out there. Chris, welcome to the show. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
Well, I'm currently based here in Ottawa. I'm a Canadian. I was born here. I did spend a little bit of time as a youth in Germany and traveled around a bit in my 20s here and there for contract work.
Okay.
My background, I've done a lot of different things, but the 2 relevant things that stood out are private education. I had the joy to teach English to foreign students coming into Canada, and for many years actually had a good business doing that. Usually high-level scientific and business English because I've always been a science nut, a nerd, I didn't end up going into the sciences. I was briefly in a computing startup, software startup, but I realized I didn't really enjoy the coding that much. I enjoyed the business side of it. So that's where my actual degree came from. I have a commerce degree, commerce honors degree with specialization in accounting, and some extra bits in project management, change management, and I tried to work my science in there with electives. So, but basically, I'm a space nut. Always have been. Watched Star Trek in the house since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's how I found. There you go. And that's how I found Kobina and Inara and whatnot through trying to really get an innovation program off the ground, which we can talk a bit in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're, my mission for the last 3.5 years, some part-time, some full-time during a furlough with this recent situation, has been trying to reverse engineer the future, build a Star Trek future especially for young people, like you say, around the world.
Sure.
Because the demographics, the young people are in the developing countries.
I agree. So you 2 were actually doing, if I'm correct here, my memory, which comes and goes at 59. Gone, senior moments. I just banished them. But you guys were doing something separately. And then through Inara, I think she said, well, these 2 could be doing more together, which is always it. It's better. The power of we is always better than the power of me. And so that's what I love about you 2 and why I thought it would be a great fit for you all to come on the show today. So who wants to start by giving us the Reader's Digest version, introduce us, and let us dip our toes, if you will, into the water known as what we see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, this nonprofit, SRG Smart, or is that SRGSmart.org?
SRG Smart, yeah.
Okay, tell us what that means and who's it for.
So that's my side of things for the moment. Although everything's coming together, as you say, cooperation.
Okay, this is you.
Galactus Aerospace.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Okay, so
Kobina and I are both under Galaxis as well.
okay,
Through the magic of Inara, who is the master master connector. So
wait for it.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
I think she deserves 2 tings.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
you go, too. I'm with you there. So tell everybody what you were, Kobina, you go first. Before you know, this is like the Reese's peanut butter cup, how it came about. You got your peanut butter on my chocolate. No, you got your chocolate in my peanut butter. But look what we got when we put them together. So Kobina, whether you were the chocolate or the peanut butter, what were you doing when you were doing it just as a solo act?
Should I, was that for me to say? Sorry, my connection keeps on cutting out. Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
that's for you.
Okay. Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, so forgive me because the connection
There it goes.
does keep on breaking me. So my project, okay, let me start by saying a bit about space. Let's get excited about space a little bit, Lauren.
Okay.
So basically, look, I think us human beings, we're kind of arrogant in a way. Every generation thinks of itself as the best and the latest.
He'll come back.
We look at somebody else's history, and it's important to recognize that. And so big things happen every now and then. It is a big thing. And everybody who's anywhere on the planet will know by now that there is a lot going on in space. The thing is that most people don't realize precisely how much is going on. There is a lot going on. Now, even a few years ago, and even to me, who is a bit of a space enthusiast, talk of becoming a multi-planetary society was ridiculous. I mean, nobody would believe you. People would laugh at you. But actually, I think it's important that everybody appreciates how serious this is. There's a lot of work going on to science. It's really important. Now, people like Chris and I read about it. We know a bit about what's going on. But I really turn younger people on to what's going on because it is their future. And it's happening before our very eyes. Inspiration 4 is a
Yes.
huge right. So, as I said, I grew up on science fiction, and Isaac Asimov stood out for me. I mean, I used to read him lying in bed. I used to dream, and what amazes me about him in particular was how many of his predictions actually came true. And I think in 1939, he predicted that human beings would travel to the moon by 1974. Now, we actually landed on the moon in 1968. So he was back in 1938, 39, he predicted it, but he was 6 years out. And when he
Yes. I'm just filling in, y'all.
was interviewed about whether we think our predictions will come to pass. But if they do, well, good. And somebody asked him how he felt about being out by 6 years. And he said, I feel a little bit annoyed by not getting it right. And, he was annoyed with himself by missing such a prediction by 6 years. They're just phenomenal people in space. Anyway, so all of this is going on, Lauren and Chris, and we need to get people to understand, to feel it, to be part of it. So we've got at the moment talk of mining asteroids and extracting minerals from other worlds, colonizing places, and there's a lot going on. Now, my concern, whilst all of this good stuff is going on, I have some apprehension, which is to do with things like military applications, things like space debris, junk in space, and also whether everybody will get to benefit from this. So whilst there's a lot of good stuff going on, I think we also have to try and make sure that space is for everybody. And that's where I attack this from. I'm a lawyer. There are there's a lot of treaties about space that I want young people to become familiar with as well. But the overriding principle of the treaties from the 1960s is that there's a lot of private and commercial interests going on, which quite rightly, they have to invest resources and time, and they want to protect their investment. So what we're seeing is, on the one hand, a lot going on, which is very commercial. And my concern is that a lot of people will get left behind. And my view is that you can actually bring the two together. The billionaires or the big corporations, whether they're private or government-led, can do little things, very little things. You know, a fraction of 1% of their revenues could change lives. And that's what I'm determined to make happen. And that's where Chris and I
came together. Perfect. I'll pick up where he leaves off.
So thank you. I have a very specific, that's my introduction. And I have a very specific project that I am trying to quietly get support for. And it's to do with a lake in Ghana. And now the lake is called Lake Busumtwi. I'll spell that Bosomtwi, but it's pronounced Busumtwi.
Okay.
Now the lake is in the center of Ghana. It's about 10 kilometers across, and dotted around the lake are 30 villages. And those villages depend on the lake for their livelihood. Now the lake is drying up, and they've not managed the resource very well. They've overfished it. And so those communities are all suffering. A lot of young people, when they finish their schooling, they leave the area. Lots of teenage pregnancies, lots of poverty. There's not a lot of employment there. It's in a bad state. The road network is very poor.
Okay.
Now the interesting thing for space is that that lake was formed by a meteor impact.
I heard about that. Anara was telling me about that. Yes.
And the impact that it left filled with rainwater over the desert followed and created this lake, which is a phenomenal asset, a space asset. It's a crater formed on our planet that has now become a lake that sustains 30 communities, and it's worth preserving. And one of the things I want to do is to help those villages by creating a space tourism or ecotourism facility there. And also Chris and I are working on a school and educational facilities in the area. Now that, for example, is a very simple and achievable and low-cost project that the spacefaring community or the space commercial community could deliver, which would change the lives of thousands of people for very, very little. I'll pause there. Thank you very much for giving me that.
Of course.
I could talk more about this.
No worries. You met your match here because I can talk. So, but what I love about that idea, Kobina, is it's just like here in the States. We have out in LA the La Brea tar pits where people go all the time and just so they can see where the dinosaur bones are, that sort of thing. Or the Grand Canyon or any number of national parks and monuments and things that people learn and grow from. And this sounds like that's a brilliant idea. I'm so excited to hear about it. And so then, Chris, on to you. Let's bring in your piece of this bicycle built for two, and tell us about that if you could.
So my passion for quite a while has been innovation education. For about, well, since I went back to university and actually finished university, I graduated my second tour, you could say, about 5 years ago, and that was in commerce. But I've always been an armchair engineer, a scientist. You know, I've always been to the trades. You know, I grew up in the country, and when you're from the country, you know, I know how to frame a shed. I know how to pour a concrete foundation. You know, these kind of things. I've milked a cow, right? So if you would have told me when I was a teen, itching to get to the city and get out of the country, that I'd want to go back to a farm, I would have told you you're crazy, you know. But it turns out that farms and the biosphere, you know, places like Ghana, that have a lot of species and have an ecosystem that's got so much scientific potential, and communities that need help, you know. And as we were discussing, in a lot of the places that could use development, there's a choice on how the development can go. You know, rather than see some of this, you know, native rainforest or some of these wonderful environments, rather than see it go to a palm plantation or something, it can be so valuable. And from my perspective, I figured out that if you build in the developing world, and this is pretty much anywhere that you don't have winter, smallhold farms are vital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on a smallhold farm, so 1 hectare, 2.5 acres, kind of to 2 hectares, 5 acres, so much of the world's food production on the local food security level for developing nations is on these small farms. It's a really vital link. And the other thing that's on those farms and in that surrounding, because it's often, take the Philippines, which is where my project was initially, and I'm going to be building in the Philippines, but
Okay.
I designed a modular project to go into all sorts of different environments, right? Like I said, as long as it doesn't have winter, then you can use things like indoor, outdoor space, building like in Ghana. If you go, and Kobina showed me some videos to orient myself with the environment. And the same as the Philippines, if you have a shade roof with a good enough overhang, 99% of the time you're fine from the weather. You just step back from the rain, that you're okay. So building really valuable structures, really versatile structures, in a lot of these places, it is not so hard. And so I came up with a modular system, and I like to use a computing analogy. So now we're talking about hardware, the buildings, the equipment, the systems, this kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Software is the community programs, the people, the business models, that kind of thing. So let's talk hardware first.
All right.
So the hardware I've come up with is a modular set of buildings and subsystems that we can copy and paste into any of these climates, even into a desert climate, which would just take more water management, like you need bigger cisterns, that kind of thing. But it can go in so many places. And that's where Inara, who's been, I've been working with her, and she just recently brought me into Galaxis. And she said, you know what, your ideas, your systems can work in Kobina's project. And bingo, there we had a connection, right? The basics of it are like a hotel and restaurant. And I have 15 years in hospitality. My day job is a property auditor, and I help with the operations of a large conference center hotel complex. So if you have accommodations somewhere for people to stay, if you have kitchens and an ability to feed them, and you have the amenities, you have an internet connection, that's the important one, because our facilities need to be off grid. You can't depend on the local electricity. Sometimes there's none, and they're online because we need to be able to have our students or eco tours or staff, local people. They need to be able to generate media. They need to be able to live cast, and so the modular campus concept I came up with, in the case in Ghana, it currently looks, because we're in the planning stages for it, but it looks like it would be first like a tourist center. We kind of have the idea of staging it up, but eventually, it can be a whole community center. It can be a school.
Okay.
And the initial thrust of my building a school was, I want to build a school that's efficient enough, and this is where space comes in. So this is
Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet.
Okay.
Don't go there yet. What we're going to do, everybody, is you're starting to get the outline of the sketch, and when we return from this brief sponsorship moment, I hate the word commercial, but when we return, we're going to actually go inside the lines of the sketch so you can have an idea and an understanding of exactly what's happening. Here's what I want you to think about while we're gone for the next 60 seconds. The pandemic. I refer to it as the great equalizer. It has caused a lot of separation, but it is also, as you see here today, doing a lot of integration, bringing people together for all the right reasons. So I love this idea, and I want to know how you guys feel, and get involved inside this conversation when we return, because it's time for us to stop thinking just about killing the planet and start thinking about how together we can heal the planet. Don't go away. We'll be right back. you have found your way inside today's installment. I was going to say episode, but this is more than an episode of Bathrobe Moments. My guests today are Chris Kent of Ottawa, Canada, and Mr. Kobina Hughes from London. We're here to talk about what they're doing together to help fortify the future planet known as Earth. So right before we went to break, you guys were each giving us a little insight into your individual components. So now let's segue into the mixture of this pie, if you will. Okay, what it is going to be like now that you have come together to create something, which is a third piece. Who wants to take it first?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to start because in this, I think Chris is probably more bring the community and the big picture issues to him, and then we go into the detail and we try and put something on the ground. The communities are really wonderful people. I mean, as I said, they're mainly agricultural and fishing folk. I went back to live in Ghana about 10 years ago, and I went up to the lake and I loved it so much, and the villagers basically adopted me. So I'm a bit of a local son. But there's a lot that we can do. So we mentioned employment is an issue, healthcare is an issue, education is an issue. And there's a lot that we intend to do here. As Chris said, we could scale up. You see, with these things, Lauren, the important thing is garnering trust. You've got to get the trust of people that you work with. And so I know the communities there very well. You don't just go in and impose your solutions on people. You have to bring things up with them. Otherwise, they would just go and do something and walk away. We want them to feel as though they have a stake in it.
Yeah.
So that if people have a stake in something, it's more likely to succeed than whether you just go and pose it on a few minutes there. Or should I just go on? Just go on, obviously. Okay. Well, so what I so what I think
now.
so you see, and you have to give people something that they have a stake in. What we thought we'd do initially would just go in there and do something simple. So basically, maybe do a space day where we go, we hire a hotel. There are lots of local small hotels around the lake. And then they can see visitors coming in, they can see us, we can talk to them about our proposals, and then that would just be a one-day kind of thing. The next thing that we would like to do is at the lakeside, there is a small tourism center, but I mean, to call it that is very grand. It's basically 2 rooms built out of cement bricks. There's no toilet facility there's no hand washing facility. It's just a desk with somebody who receives guests, and you pay, I think, something like 10 cents, and then you go for a swim in the lake, and then you come back, and the 10 cents, if they get $10 a day, that $10 is shared by
Countless.
the community. So the next thing that we would want to do would be to increase that 2-room facility into maybe something which is probably 4 or 5 rooms with maybe a washroom and all those facilities to just enhance the existing structure. Again, very low cost, but high impact, because instead of 10 cents, they can now start charging maybe 50 cents or $1 per visitor. And that would multiply their income 10 times. Yes. So that would be our second stage.
Let me throw something in here, because I want to know how you guys feel about this. You mentioned Kobina about Inspiration 4, and I don't know where you've been if you don't know about Inspiration 4. The first mission, completely manned by 4 civilians, took off last week, came back this weekend safely, thank God, and opening space up, even just the mindset, to everyone. And so, but the one thing I want to know, how do you guys feel with what you're trying to do when you see, Jared Isaacson, billionaire, and raising, I forget what the figure is. I know it starts with a 2, maybe 2, I don't know.
$20 million, I think.
For St. Jude Children's Hospital. Of course, a wonderful, wonderful place and institution. Does a lot of good in the world, but it also has a lot of other resources pouring into it. How do you hope to one day see people like Mr. Isaacson or any other billionaire or anyone else? You don't have to be a billionaire to help you. The Stone Soup story taught us that. Bring whatever you can. But when do you think the day will come where people will pour into things like what you're doing and go there? Because I was a little surprised that it wasn't to raise awareness in what they were doing in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Sending civilians out, making space available to everyone. So how do you think that's going to go, or how would you like to see that go? Why don't you take that? Oh, Kobina, we're going to let Chris go now.
Keep quiet and give the baton to you. Look, when I saw, I knew a bit about Inspiration 4 before the big event happened, but I didn't know them as well as I did when I came to watch the Netflix documentary. And what they did was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, they're an incredible team. And, I fell in love with every single one of them. Yeah. Amazing people. And what they did for that hospital, and, it was just incredible. Space isn't just about space. And, all credit to them for giving the limelight to the Cancer for Kids hospital. I mean, fantastically. Their foresight, their vision, their dedication, their love for the kids, amazing. Now, as you said, this is not a one size fits all. You can do stuff for $10 in the West, and you can do stuff for $2 billion in Africa, or vice versa. It doesn't have to be the same. And there's no jealousy in this. There's no competition.
No, there isn't. You got a break there.
Absolutely.
So, Kobina, what I'm saying is this. My question is this. So how does it make you feel? I mean, because if I was sitting in your seat and I saw that, I'd go like, man, what we could do with just a little bit of that money, just a little bit. How, you know what I'm saying? I see you shaking your head in affirmation, Chris. Tell us what goes through your mind when you see that, and what are your hopes when you feel, we could go from any direction, but you see that the door is being opened. Now what?
I think my hopes and the as you say, the door is being opened, right? Sure. We're at the threshold, a real liminal stage with space. And because the technology is here. People in the 70s thought we'd have a Mars base, this kind of thing. The technology wasn't there. And for a long time, people were not so hot on space, but it's becoming hot again, and we're ready, but a lot of people don't realize even already how important space is for everyday life here on Earth. From planning out weather to disaster relief and warning. There's a reason we get 8-hour warnings for big storms. People have time to board up their houses because of Earth observation. In the developing world, in the farming I mentioned, a lot of the farmers are going to come to depend on space technology. A lot of the spin-offs from technology, they're everywhere. We're talking on a communication system that, although it could have arisen without space, but it just so happens that a lot of these components, they come from space programs. Correct. And that trend is going to increase. That's not going to decrease. So this is where as I said, I'm into innovation, and all of the problems that we have on Earth, every single problem we have on Earth is going to be solved by an innovator with a new idea, because doing the same thing over and over again does not get you results when it's just fail after fail. And those innovators are going to be the youth. And when it comes to space, it's a matter of that. In the industry, they say it's workforce development, right? But all of the things that are going to be happening in space, right now, everyone knows the right stuff. You have to be a fighter pilot, a jet pilot. Inspiration 4 proves that that is not so,
Not
right?
so.
And that trend is going to go, and it's going to be the case where you're not calling upon, you're not calling upon the intrepid astronaut pilot. You're calling upon, I need a space welder, I need Ripley from Aliens, who's got a class 2 qualification in a power loader, and she's gonna move some boxes on deck. That's what the future of space is going to become.
Yeah, sure.
Can I jump in here, Chris?
Sure.
Lauren, I think this is a really important point. And using 20, 30, 40 million versus me looking for $2,000 or $5,000 or $50,000. The important point is that, as I said, there's no competition. It depends on getting the right solution for the right circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing. The commercial interests get a bit nervous because they think that you're saying, if they make $1 billion, 10% of that should go to the poor world. And no, we're not talking about that. So I think it's really important that we bridge the divide that seems to be there between the innovators, the commercial innovators, and the poor.
The us and them. And let me speak to that real quick because this ties in. When I mentioned about Jared Exis and putting the money into St. Jude, I did that on purpose because I think I know why he did that. Because you have to go in a way that makes people listen and lean in, and then once you have their attention, like I wouldn't be surprised his next mission will most likely have something to do with what like people like you, because now people say, well, he took care of us first down here. Because what a lot of people do is they would say, why would you be taking care of space when we've got all these issues here on Earth? So, and then that's also like this. Think about it. The overview effect. Yeah. We all know about that. Frank White, the overview effect. Anyone who's gone out there, they look back, they're forever changed. Everyone who's done that or experienced that says if, everyone could experience the overview effect, we wouldn't see borders. We wouldn't see division. We would just see us as a human race. And so that would then, because, a lot of people will say to both of you, well, why are you going in London? Well, we got problems here in London town, or in Ottawa. We got problems here in Ottawa. Why are you going there? Take care of us.
Lauren, you're so right. And so what we have to do is, because again, my second point, so the first point is bridging the gap between the commercial guys and the non-commercial guys. The second issue for me is that we have to accept that not everybody is going to go to space. Notwithstanding what Inspiration 4 have done, you're not going to get everybody up there. So let's face the reality of it. How do we bring the overview effect back down to Earth? We don't want to have to go up there to experience it, but we can make.
Agreed.
Yeah. Experience it. We can bring the overview effect down to people. You don't have to go up there because we're not all going to get up there, but we can all feel it somehow. And
I experienced it when I read Frank's book.
Well, exactly. There you go.
When I listen to astronauts who describe it, you just look at them and you're like, ooh.
Line keeps on cutting out. But I think you can use, for example, VR technology for, say, a kid who's not even got a laptop. If you gave them those VR goggles and said, look into space, and these kids are just going to blow their minds. They will feel something. So there's a lot we can do for next to nothing. I'm very conscious of the fact that we haven't spoken about Chris's.
Well, that's where we're headed. That's exactly
opening the door. As I just wanted to jump in and say, all of these moments and what they were doing, especially with Inspiration 4, right? They're opening the door, right? They're opening the door not only to space, but to a new world, right? A new world where there's less borders, where people are more accepted, all of that,
Right. And Chris, your project is on the screen. So you guys are over to the right. If you scoot over just a little bit, they can see your full body other way, or left, whatever. It's like a mirror. And they don't have to see me because you're the guest. So tell us what we're looking at here. I think it's very exciting. And
so you're looking at a model campus, and this is our modular campus. So the property shown here is about 2 acres, and this has enough capacity that whether it's working as a school or whether it's working as a local economic development center, a research campus, it's modular, right? It's, like I said earlier, off-grid, but online. So you've got, kitchens, you've got closed loop systems. This is where space comes in, is that we've been designing the place, the campus, and all of our systems like you would design a spacecraft. And the students take a lot of lessons from that as well. You need a life support system. You need to eat, right? You need clean water. You want to communicate back to home base, right? So a lot of these schools are intended for remote places, or in the case of Ghana, we could, I see a peek in there.
I am.
In the case of Ghana, if it's a local economic development center running, say, ecotourism, doing real science, in combination in alliances with universities, let's say, or with NASA, or, there's all sorts of things that can happen, all sorts of programs that can happen. But you need a place for people, you need amenities, and you need some secure infrastructure. And as Kobina mentioned too, the important part is building with the local people. So they're stakeholders. They have to operate the facility. Now, because it's going to be, it's in the internet, sphere, and it's a connected facility. So donors and sponsors and whatnot can get assurance. The local people can build up relationships with people globally. That's the real important part, is the online part, because we're using the idea is to use global programs and media and shows like we're doing now to drive development in these local communities for local people, right? So it's not a company coming in and then shipping their own workers in and taking the profits out. This is in the case of the school that I'm planning, and our first campuses are slated in the Philippines, although it looks like Ghana might beat it to the first build. You never know.
Okay.
Hopefully, but I'm happy to have them anywhere in the world.
So let me ask real quick, because I don't want to forget. Sure. I'm 59. This question could run off any second. So let me grab it by the collar and get it out here. So sure. These, in both of the examples, Ghana and the Philippines, we're talking about some marginalized people for one reason or another, resources, education, on and on and on. Some people might think like what we're looking at on the screen, where you want them to be, the distance between that and where they're currently at. How are you planning on filling in the gap to get, because a lot of us, when we think space and stuff, we go, well, I don't even like math. I guess that's it for me. Talk about how that's going to work to make it.
That's global. That's the global development driving the local development, right? So once it's, the key is to build something that is durable, right? And involve the locals. A lot of what you see here is actually, it's really very simple construction. It doesn't rely on super high tech. We want to make sure that we're not dependent on, you're not dependent on getting a part somewhere from the global supply chain. And the locals will also have, aside from a few things, like, of course, the internet runs on computers. So certain things you need to have in secure lockups, you need to protect them, et cetera, et cetera. But it's very possible to do development projects that what we call appropriate technology, right? And what will drive the development is people who want to see change. If there was a market for a big conference center there, it would be there already. That's the fact, right? That's the fact of like the cold, hard business side of things. Right. So, but now we're talking about, what about if you have people who want to see a change? And I think there's a lot of people around the world, maybe everyone at some level wants to build a better future. And by building relationships with the local people, by seeing things happen, right? Because it's connected, they're going to feel confident that by building this, it's durable, that we're planning everything, like Kobina discussed, a staged development. We'll go step by step so that everyone's comfortable with what's going on.
Sure.
But in the end, what you have is something that's built, and the key is, because of the closed loop systems, because it's appropriate, because it's not going to be something that you build and then it's just going to fall apart because no one can maintain it.
Explain
all
what
of these kind of things,
Chris,
all of these kind of things are things that it will operate on its own. So if you give that to people and you say, we can build it together, and then it's going to be more or less self-sufficient, that's the hook.
Chris, let's explain one of those industry jargon pieces that you just threw out there, because I don't know what it means, so I'm sure someone else doesn't either. What is closed loop? So
closed loop is the idea that you use things locally. You use what you have and you reuse what you have. So so for instance, how are we going to feed people at a conference center or a school or whatnot? Well, you need the food. So, there's local farmers. Let's make good deals with them. But most of the value in food is added by the cooking and the preparation. So basically like recycling is today, but it wasn't 50 years ago. Exactly. And like a life support system on a spaceship, right? Okay. If you in space, you don't have any free rides. There's no free lunch. So if you don't recycle everything, if you don't use everything efficiently, then you're done, right? And the mission clock is going to tick down and you're done. And the same thing with appropriate technology, with the kind of places that Kobina and I are looking to build, is that, from the perspective of, say, donor money, because it comes down to dollars. Donors want to make sure that their dollars are used wisely, that are actually helping people, right? And so if you can show people that, we take the local produce and we have a nice big reliable refrigeration walk-in cooler, and we've got dehydrators that can dry the produce. We've got bake ovens that work just with the sun. Sure. It's really clean. It's very reliable. And it's overall sustainable. Yeah, it's overall, the operations end up going forward. It's something like, if you take a look at the very middle of the diagram, right? There's a small square, looks like a bunch of solar panels with a little black chimney sticking up from it. You guys can see my cursor, I'm thinking. So that is the life support center. So in there is a solar bake oven and food dehydrators and hot water cookers that works 95% of the time from the sun. That's it. Perfect. So only when you've had, if it's 3 or 4 days of very overcast weather, maybe we might need to use a little bit of farm waste or whatever, but it just works, right? Okay. For the sake of time, we got about 5 minutes, and I just want to ask, because I know somebody out there is wondering too. Over here to the left, is that a man-made lake? It looks like that is a pond. Yes. Yeah. A pond. So why would that be important to the overall campus? So the pond is dug out if there's not already a pond on the lake, because this is a model plan. We don't know exactly what the land we get is going to look like. But that's there for a reason. It's there for a reason, because you need water to flush toilets. You need water for showers, not necessarily for drinking, but you can use what they call gray water for showers. And the other thing is that to make the facility affordable to build, there's a way of building called earth bag construction. And you take agricultural sacks, you fill them with earth, you tamp them down and lay them like bricks. And then you put plaster or concrete over the wall. And the backfill you need, the earth, from excavating that pond, that provides you with much of the building material for your whole facility. Okay. So it's on site. It's like going to the moon. We're not going to bring everything to the moon to build the moon base. We got to use materials in situ, Okay.
Hi, Chris. Just in response to Lauren's question about about the facility. I think Chris quite naturally went on to the structure. I want to talk about content just very quickly because we've only got 2 minutes left.
Go ahead.
And you see, the thing is that amazingly, what you will find is that when you go to these rural communities where kids have nothing, when you expose them to some of these ideas and some of these theories, they actually accelerate rapidly past people like us. They have got the brains for it. So we're talking about, for example, adding an observatory so that the kids there can look at the stars. You know, I mean, honestly, what the
I love it.
Or in our case, also an offline, offline library, just hosting Wikipedia offline.
Absolutely.
Doesn't use any data.
Again, I'm into low cost, high impact. Innovation will be incredible.
Like Kobina was saying, there's innovators. These kids are natural innovators, you know?
Okay, so, you know, there's so much here. Our goal, our intention, rather, today was to just introduce you to the very crust of a slice of this bread. This is in no way representative of the entire loaf. Let's put it that way. But if you'd like to see one slice at a time, head over to where you can find them here at galaxisaerospace.com. But also remember, go over and look at all of the schematics. There's a ton of information there. And also, is this the place, guys, where they can go to find out how I can be of service to what you are doing? Where would be the best place for that, here or here?
Either site. Either site you can reach us, because we're both active on each site.
Perfect. I just want to say how excited I am just from the short time that we've shared here today. And I hope that you've been excited a little bit as well. I love what's going on. I want you guys to understand that space is available to everyone. So get in there and think about what kind of future you want for the people coming down your bloodline. What kind of future you'd like this world to have. You have a chance to leave your DNA on something that will live for thousands of years. And these kinds of people like Chris Kent and Kobina Hughes are doing things to make that possible too. It's called legacy. And when we come together, we can always do more with a little bit of something than we could ever imagine with a whole lot of nothing. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, again. We'll get you back here sometime. And for those of you out there, let me say this as we close out today. I wouldn't rather be anywhere in the world right now than here with all of you. And I say that because when we come together, today was proof again of an illuminated conversation, and that the promise of where two or more of us comes together with the like-mindedness and the spirit from our heart and soul, wonderful things will happen. Get out today and make a difference in the world by putting an E and an R on everything you are. Take smart to smarter, great to greater, bright to brighter. Thank you, guys. It was a real honor. I'll see you around soon. And I'll see you guys. Thank you. Tomorrow, meet me out front at 8 a.m. on the front porch. We're going to do it all again, God willing. Alan A. Allen, the world, one of the first, what's it called? Not astronaut, aquanauts, will be here. Wait till you meet him. He's 83 years old and he has 1 million years worth of experience. He's an old soul. Wow. Come in tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Thank you, guys. Again, get out there and keep doing what you're doing. Let us know if we can ever be of service.
Thank you very much.
Will do.
Love you, Lauren. Bye-bye. Bye, Chris. I'll see you in the other room. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey,